You send a message in any chat app and almost instantly it shows up on your friend's screen. Let us say you're looking at a trading app and you see the stock ticker go up and down almost as if it is live. You ask your chat agent any question and it starts screaming you the response word by word. So, all of these applications, it looks like real time. But there is something different that is happening in the backend for all of these scenarios. If you think about it, when the web was first built, it was all around HTTP, meaning you ask server a question and then it gets you back a response. So how did we start from over there? And now we are at a place where the server and client are constantly communicating. In this particular video, we are gonna explore this complete ladder. We start off with the most basic concept, see the problems that it has, and then we keep on climbing our ladder all the way till we reach WebSockets. Let us explore all about it. Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Let us start with the most basic request first. That is a normal HTTP request. And almost 90% of the web works this way. Basically, the idea is the client has to ask first. Let us say you are opening up your favorite news website. So what do? You open up your browser and then you try to load an article. You make a GET request to the server responds you back with the article, and okay, you have the article in front of you. That is how most of the sites work. But the problem with this is, let us say there is some new breaking news that the server has got, but it is not delivered to you yet. You will only get it once you reload or refresh your page, correct? So you can easily see the problem with this approach. If the server has to tell you something new, then that information isn't available until you, the client, actually refreshes the page. So how do you address it? Well, the most common idea or the most naive idea you can think is, okay, what if I can keep on asking the server, hey, do you have some new information? Do you have some new information? And I keep on doing that in a loop. That is exactly what polling means. Basically, you are just asking again and again. And this is a perfect example how your weather apps work. You can see that widget on your screen, right? You see the temperature keeps on getting updated. So what is happening over here? Your app asks the server basically again and again at a set interval. So for example, you just keep on asking the server, what is the weather? Currently it is 68. So you keep on asking, okay, do you have any new data? Do you have any new data? And then once the server has a new data available, your client is updated and then you are showing that, okay, the temperature is now 72. Right now, it feels that you have solved the problem where the server wants to give you a new information, then how do you get it? But over here, you see that if you keep on polling, you are actually wasting some of your connection requests. Maybe the server does not have any new information and then you keep on asking the server. If you make your requests too frequently, then you have a lot of wasted requests. But if you try to have a lot of interval between your requests, then it is possible that you can miss out some of the information. So polling tried to solve a particular problem, but then you ended up having a new problem. So think about a scenario where you are trying to make a payment. Now, you might have seen this. As soon as you make a payment, the page shows you that, okay, do not leave this page until your request is complete. What do you think is happening over here? It is not a polling request. You are not just making a request again and again. This time, you actually make a request and then wait for the information to arrive. And that is exactly what we call as long polling. Basically, you have your client and then a server. So let us say you are doing a checkout and then you ask for something that, okay, what is the payment status? Your request will be held until it is processed by the server and then you get back the response. This is where long polling is actually very, very helpful, and then you can get back an information after some time. In this particular scenario, you are actually holding the connection open and then waiting for a response to be back. And notice over here that applying a timeout is very, very essential. For example, you make a payment request. Your server is trying to process that request, and let us say you do not get back any response. So your client adds a timeout that, okay, I am gonna wait, let us say 30 seconds and then get back whatever the response is. I will not wait for my server. So this is how you're trying to solve one aspect of the problem. You have now determined that, okay, how can I poll the server for getting any new information? But over here, you are now introducing another problem. Every connection that you make, every answer that you want, it will open a new connection. And there are a lot of instances where you make up your connection request, you keep on waiting, and then there is no new information. You get back, you close the connection, and then you will try to create the connection again. So once again, while we solved a part of the problem, there is another part of the problem that got created. And keep in mind that none of these methods are absolute methods. It just depends upon your use case. If you are making a weather app, the short polling is the best scenario. If you're just making a blog article, then simple HTTP requests work. So I'm not trying to say that one strategy will beat all of the other. I'm trying to frame things in such a way that you understand the pros and cons of each of the approach. That is exactly where the next style of communication comes in, and that is known as server sent events. Basically, your client is gonna open a connection to the server and then you leave it open. The server will now push on events to the client as it processes all of the information. And this is exactly what ChatGPT or some of the other LLM agents do. For example, you are your client with the chat window open and your server is currently sitting idle. You ask a particular question. Okay, what is the capital of France? You open the stream and then the server starts getting you data one character at a time. The server is processing some information and it is streaming back all of the results to you. However, for this type of communication, there is one important thing that you must understand. Only the server can send you back the events. Basically, if the client now tries to send a new information, it will get rejected. So you may ask that, okay, in ChatGPT, I can ask more questions. So how is the server responding? Basically, it will close off the existing connection. It will then establish a new connection again with the request and then wait for the server to start streaming back the event and all the information that I need. That is exactly what you need for a chat agent. When you make a request, it can be a simple HTTP request or a simple request that you make to a server. But the connection to reply back should be a streaming response. And that is why this kind of technique also becomes very, very helpful. But not in every scenario you can apply the same technique. It may feel that, okay, you have solved the problem where the server can send you back the response. But think about scenarios where you need to constantly exchange information. For example, a real-time messaging app. For example, a multiplayer game. Every time you are sending some information and the server is getting you back some information. If you keep on creating these connections and closing these connections, it is gonna be very, very stressful and your design isn't gonna scale properly. And this is where the concept of WebSockets come in. Let us first see how a WebSocket solves all of these problems, and then we are gonna see what is happening behind the scenes. So basically, let us say you have a live chat like WhatsApp. You have a client and you have a chat server. So what happens? First of all, you will open your connection with the server and then you get a handshake request completed. Now this connection is active. It is a full duplex persistent connection. Duplex means both the client and the server can communicate, and persistent means that you are not closing it. It is gonna stay active. So now what happens? The client wants to send some information. It is received by the server. The server can again get you back some information. So this is how your communication keeps on working, something in a web app. And this is what exactly powers most of the apps where you are doing collaborative editing. For example, group chats. For example, a whiteboard where multiple people can draw and sketch. A room chat where people are gaming together. Everything happens with the concept of WebSockets. Now, a question comes naturally to your mind. Why can't I just use WebSockets everywhere, since they seem to solve all of my problems? Well, the answer is that a WebSocket creates a persistent connection that is tied to a particular client and a particular server. So this becomes very, very hard to scale. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, let us say you have a user A and they make a persistent connection to server 1. This is a WebSocket that they have established. Now, there is another user who has made a persistent WebSocket connection to another server. Now, with this WebSocket, user A can communicate with server 1 and user C can communicate with server 2. Notice that these WebSockets are pinned to these respective servers. So let us say you have a lot of open connections. But now the problem is that when you want to send a message from server 1 to server 2, there is no route. If you think about a messaging app, you need to scale this to millions of users. So what do is you put some kind of a publisher subscriber module in the middle. So now what will happen is user A is gonna put a message in the message bus, and then the other server is gonna subscribe to this message bus, receive the message and deliver it to the required user. This is how most of the chatting apps work, and this is how you can scale your application to millions of users. That is what makes WebSocket really important to understand. And to be honest with you, every WebSocket connection actually starts up as an HTTP request. You have a client and you have a server. The first thing is you make an HTTP request to the server to make sure that, okay, you are able to connect. If you can make this connection, the next process is that you upgrade this connection to a persistent, sticky bi-duplex connection. You make an upgrade request and the server is going to respond you back with 101. This protocol means that, okay, the connection is now established and both the server and the client can now send information to each other. You notice that this is how the WebSocket is established. It stays open and both sides can send the data anytime. I believe that all of this gives you a nice overview of all of the different connection strategies that are available. What I want to tell you is that you should not choose the highest rung of the ladder every time. If you use WebSockets, they are the most expensive and they take up most of your resources. You need to choose wisely. If you have something where your updates are very sporadic, maybe long polling is helpful. If you are serving some static content, simple HTTP requests are fine. So just going over the entire video, what do you think are your favorite type of connection requests? Which one have you used the most? Tell me everything in the comment section below and I would love to discuss all of it with you. If you found this video helpful and you want to see more of these system design concepts, please do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This really keeps me motivated and I can make more such videos. Also, a huge shout out to all of the members who support my channel. You guys really keep me going. As a member, you do get priority reply to your comments and early access to new videos as well. Also remember that now you can schedule a one-to-one session with me and we can discuss about almost anything. Stay tuned for my upcoming video. Until then, see ya.